Am I live? It's been a while since I did this. I don't even know if anyone will join. Hello. Person. I was thinking we could just read Matthew 24. And then if anyone had anything you wanted to be prayed over about, I just think studying the Bible is really, really important in this time. There's a lot of garbage doctrine out there, but maybe I should give people a heads up next time. I don't know. Yeah. Hello. I don't know if they'll actually stay this time. So I'm just going to go ahead and start reading. And if anyone shows up, anyone shows up. So this is in Matthew 24. Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came to him to call his attention to buildings. Do you see all these things? He said. Truly I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Yeah, I think even just stopping there, we can look at our lives now and see how crazy and hectic things are, like even just with COVID. Just wars and rumors of wars between global powers. It's it's quite hectic. But anyway, if anything sticks out to anyone, you can put it in the chat if you would like. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these things are the beginning of birth pains. I can remember here in Europe, I want to say maybe a little over a year ago, there was a really, really bad earthquake kind of near Croatia. So they're still repairing from that, still building off of that. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. So, speed is on.
Hey, sweetie.
Hello.
Hi. I'm on the phone with Aunt Toddy. Do you mind giving me the room?
Okay.
Thank you, sweetie pie.
Yeah.
Aunt Toddy says hi.
Hi.
She says hi back.
Okay, we'll get to this. Sorry, we're in the middle of a move.
Okay.
Middle of a move. I will plan better next time. But okay. spare room. So, false prophets. That's where we were, verse 11. I think for me, it's just like how many people believe so many things that are false, so much false doctrine that is kind of shocking to me. I think it's when we really start to get into the Bible that we realize how off things are. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. I guess I think about like a lot of people say like, oh, how could a loving God, how can Jesus be the only way if so many in the world don't hear of him, but everyone is without an excuse. The end of Romans chapter 1 talks about that. And I feel like Matthew 24:14 really also speaks to that. Even when I was a missionary kid, when we lived in China, there are more Christians in China than there are people in the UK. It's like there's like I think 67 million, 70 million people in the UK. There's like more Christians in China than there are people in the UK, which is crazy to me. Because so many people think of China, they don't think of a lot of Christians, right? So when you see standing in the holy place, the abomination that causes desolation, spoken through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Ooh. I actually haven't done a lot of study on the abomination of desolation, so I think I'll have to do some studying on that. I think I may actually have to look that up after this. Very interesting. Because I know there's probably a lot of different theories about that. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Why would they want to flee to the mountains? I'm curious. Maybe if I understood what Daniel was talking about, that would help me understand the context. Anyone has any insight into that, you can obviously put it in the comments or whatever. Share it. Let no one in the field go back for their cloak. Oh, wait, I skipped a verse. Let no one on the housetops go down to take anything out of the house. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath. Even just verse 20, I've heard so many different forms of theology taken from that's so interesting. I also think about when I read this, I think about when it talks about Lot and his family and how his wife Lot's wife turned to a pillar of salt because she looked back. It's kind of like, don't look back on your old life. And also there's a verse that says, I want to say it's in Hebrews, but it might not be. The Lord, where God says, he who draws back I will take no pleasure in him. But that's just kind of what those verses made me think about. But I'm really curious about that. Okay, so for then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. That is really hard to think about because I'm a historian, and when I read about World War I and World War II, especially World War II, not even just like, we hear about the Holocaust, but if you really dig into how many people died because of communism and atheism and the Soviet, Stalin, like I took a history class. Sorry, I have a tendency to touch my face a lot. It's a nervous tick, so it's probably really annoying to some people. But I took this history class on Russia and the Soviet period, and my professor was really, really phenomenal in how she explained how Stalin actually ended up starving people off because they wouldn't. I can't remember all the terminology for it, but they wouldn't give their lands to be localized to the community, to the government, and they wanted to keep it, and so he starved them. And so many millions of people in modern day Ukraine and Belarus died. And then also, they call it, I think, like the purges. There's something they call it, but it was like when Stalin was purging all the people that actually had fought with him in the Red versus White War. Sorry, my terms, but you get what I'm talking about. That time period when he actually ended up killing them. These are like high-ranking officers and people that fought with Stalin. So just so many people have already died from that, just that period of time. So for me to read Matthew 24, 21, and to see, for there will be great distress unequaled from the beginning of the world until now and never to be equal again. I think, how can that possibly be? You know? In those days, if those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those still days will be shortened. And then what I want to wonder here is, I almost wonder, and I'm just asking, okay, does elect mean the elect people that God has called to live in this time period? Or does it just mean believers? I don't know. Maybe I'm not asking a very important question. At the time, if anyone says to you, "Look, here is the Messiah," or "There he is," do not believe it. I don't really understand that, because I don't see anyone going around saying, "There's the Messiah, there's the Messiah." I mean, you hear a couple of vague documentaries of X person claiming to be Jesus Christ, but generally, that's kind of like somebody's hippie cult or off in a corner. Maybe there's a dual meaning here. Anyone that, again, is more educated on this than me, feel free to educate me. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. And I think for me, being charismatic, this verse is really important to me, because just because someone does a miracle doesn't mean they're doing it by the power of God. And even like in charismania, that sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes they'll cast out a demon. And you can see, if you have spiritual eyes, maybe the person had pain in their neck or something. The demon will leave that part, but go in and be dormant in a different part of the body, but they were cast out. So that's why this is tangent. But I see this as so important, because so many times we think that, it's like when the Jews expected the Messiah to come. They expected him to be a king and set everything up and world peace and make everything, a certain way, and he didn't come that way. And I think for a lot of us that are just people in general, we want to make God in our own image, instead of allowing us to be renewed in him. And yeah, I just see there's a lot of false signs and false wonders. So if anyone tells you, "Here he is out in the wilderness," do not go out. or here he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man. I remember, this may sound like a totally weird tangent, but maybe to someone it will be significant. So we're in Matthew 24, verse 27. Verse 27 reminds me of when the now current Pope of the Catholic Church was inaugurated or elected, or however you say that. A lot of charismatic TV, like Sid Roth and whatever, commented on how the night he came in, lightning struck the Vatican. And I don't know, that's just, they drew conclusions that was a prophetic sign of the end times. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather. Wherever there is something that's dead, then things that eat dead things will be. So if anyone tells you, there he is out in the wilderness, do not go. Oh, wait, sorry. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the people of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the earth, to the other. See, this verse is why I don't understand how people can believe in a pre-trib rapture, because verse 31 just doesn't seem to make sense with that theology. If you believe a pre-trib rapture, explain it to me. Now learn these lessons from the fig trees. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. Truly, I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. What does that mean? I feel like no matter how much I study the Bible, there's so much I don't know. But about that day or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Now, a lot of people have interpreted that to mean not just a lot of sexual immorality and promiscuity and sin, but also fallen angels mixing with Nephilim, and see more. There's various conspiracy theories about that, and I'm not like a conspiracy theorist, but there is some very interesting theology surrounding that, I think. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and given in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. This is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding with a hand mill, one will be taken and the other left. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know what day your Lord will come. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Who then is the faithful and wise servant whom the master has put in charge of the servants in his household to give them their food at the proper time? It will be good for that servant whose master finds him doing when he returns. Truly, I tell you, he will put him in charge of all his possessions. But suppose that servant is wicked and says to himself, my master is staying away a long time, and he then begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with drunkards. So that's interesting. So abuse and gluttony and lust. The master of the servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, at an hour he is not aware of. He will cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. I also wanted to try to do a time of prayer, but as no one is here, I will just pray over whoever watches the video. So there's no time in the spirit, so whoever is watching this, if anyone does, can pray in agreement. Lord God, we come to you in the name of Jesus. And we want your will. We want to hear you. We want to know the truth. We don't want to be deceived by false teachers or false Christ. We want to see you in all your glory. Open our eyes, open our ears. Fill us so full of Jesus that nothing else can fit inside of us. Forgive us for our distractions, for the ways that we have not been loving to you, to others, for the ways that we have hurt you and hurt others, whatever those issues are, those things that we struggle with, those sins, those addictions, those tendencies. You know them, Lord. I just pray that every person who watches this, even if they only watch a second, that they would know you and be so full of your presence that everywhere they go, people see you in them. That you would fill them up, fill them to overflow. That your will be done in their life. They would be blessed and drawn closer to the biblical Jesus and the biblical gospel. Not to feelings, not to vain philosophies or itching ear doctrine, but biblical sound doctrine, the biblical true Jesus. Help us to be like you, Lord. Amen.